Hey everyone, Mr. Skelton here. We are back at it for lesson 4 in unit 1, and today we're going to be reviewing parallel and perpendicular lines and focusing on their slopes. We'll also be writing some equations as well in linear form, so a little bit of a combination from lesson 3. You'll see some of the same stuff come up in terms of point slope form possibly, y equals mx plus b possibly, and standard form possibly as we work through some of these equations. So let's jump right into it here. I made some of the points on my graph that you have on your paper ahead of time, just so it'd be a little bit easier to find. I'm going to go through this fairly quickly because I think a lot of you get the idea about slope. This is review from your Algebra 1 days and Geometry days. It says find the slope of the following line. So remember, to find the slope, you can just go rise over run and create just a fraction. So I'm going to go up 1, 2, 3, and to the left 2. So if I go up 3 and to the left 2, I get negative 3 over 2, or 3 over negative 2, same thing. 1, 2, 3 over 2, and so you get up 3 over negative 2. Now you'll notice I'm writing it differently. Remember, those are the same thing. Right here, I could go up 3, 1, 2, 3, to the left 2. I could also write it as 3 over 2 and put the negative sign out in front. All three of those mean the exact same thing. And so I'd get negative 3 over 2 for the fourth one. Okay, find the slope. We found all the slopes of the parallel lines. Let's turn the page. I'm going to move quick here. And this one just says slopes of parallel lines are, and what did you notice? They're all the same, right? They're all equal. Parallel lines have the same slope. Okay, moving on. Perpendicular. Obviously, we're going to focus on perpendicular lines here, slope of perpendicular lines. You may even recall the way you recognize if two lines are perpendicular. But again, for the sake of an example, I wanted to show you here. I've put in 2 dots here on my line, and I go up 1, 2, and to the right 1. So if I go up 2 and over 1, okay, that means that this line right here has a slope of 2. Okay? Then it says, now find the slopes of the perpendicular lines. So if I look at here, I'm going to go up 1 and to the left 2. So up 1 and left 2 would be negative 1/2. Up 1, left 2. Up 1, left 2. What do you recognize about your perpendicular, or your lines here? What do you recognize about these 3 lines in comparison to the single line going through them? Perpendicular lines are, sometimes we refer to them as opposite reciprocals, okay? Or sometimes people say negative reciprocals. For example, if you have the slope of one of the lines being 2 over 1, and the slope of the second line and the third line were all the opposite of that, which was negative 1/2, they're opposite reciprocals. Remember, reciprocal just means to flip. So 2 over 1, 1 over 2. So those numbers are flipped. And opposite, again, some people say negative reciprocal, but opposite reciprocal, if this one's positive, then that one's negative. Another way you can tell if 2 lines are perpendicular is if you take the 2 slopes and times them together, you get a negative 1 as the output. So 2 over 1 is 2, times negative 1/2, you get negative 1. Check. Okay, so that's another way, a quick check of perpendicular lines. All right? Now let's apply it to some problems here. Number 1 says, find the slope of a line that is parallel to this line. Well, if we want to find the slope of a line that's parallel, keyword, what do? We need to figure out the slope. So we want to put this in y equals mx plus b. Do this very quickly. We did this in lesson 3 a little bit. And divide everything by 7. And I'm going to get y equals negative 2x over 7 plus 4/7. Find the slope of a line that's parallel to this. The slope would have to be negative 2/7. That would be our answer. What would the slope of the line that is perpendicular to the given line be? Keyword perpendicular. Well, if this slope that I just found is 2/7, then what's the opposite reciprocal? It's negative. I flip it, 7 over 2. Since that one's negative, this one stays positive. That would be my answer. Okay? Let's move on. This one says try on your own, so please give it a try. Hit pause, see what you can do. Okay, we're back. Let's read it. Find the slope of line perpendicular. So I'm thinking opposite reciprocals. I got to put this in slope-intercept form. So I'm going to subtract 3x. That that negative 4y stays, so negative 3x plus 8, divide by negative 4, and I get y equals a negative divided by a negative is a positive, so you want to simplify that, minus 2. So all I did was just put that in slope-intercept form. The question says find the slope of a line that's perpendicular to this line. So if this is the slope of the line, then what does it need to be in order to be perpendicular? Perpendicular, so the perpendicular slope would be negative 4/3. Since that one's positive, the other line perpendicular to it would have to be negative, and we flip the fraction, so that would be our answer. Next one. The following lines are what? Low multiple choice. Well, this one's already in slope-intercept form, which is nice, so I know my slope is 3. So I just need to check this one to see if the slope is 3, or if I have an opposite reciprocal, or it could be something that's neither. Let's figure it out. Minus the 2x over, divide everything by negative 6, and I get y equals a negative divided by a negative is a positive. I reduce 2/6 to 1/3. 12 divided by negative 6 is negative 2. Well, let's focus in on the 1/3 and the positive 3. So what I'm asking you is, are these two equations of lines, are they parallel, are they perpendicular, or are they nothing? Well, they're obviously not parallel because they're not the same. A lot of students might say perpendicular, but remember, one of them has to be negative. You have a positive 3 and a positive 1/3, so they are not perpendicular. Final answer is neither. We're cruising. Writing equations of parallel lines. Write an equation of a line that is parallel, I always underline it because I want to make sure I know what I'm doing, to the given line given through the equation. So here's essentially what's happening. This is line number 1 right here. What you need to do is you need to come up with the equation of a second line, call it line number 2, in y equals mx plus b form that actually goes through and uses that point. Okay? Well, we want it to be parallel, so we know for this second line, we know the slope has to be 1/2. Why? Parallel lines equal slopes. Then I'm going to use this point and this slope to write my equation. So I like to use just y equals mx plus b again, and then fill in my x and my y. So 1 equals, my slope is 1/2, my x is negative 4, and I'm going to solve for b. So 1 equals half of negative 4 is negative 2 plus b. Add the 2 over, I get 3 equals b. And my final answer for line number 2 is y equals 1/2 x, because that's my slope. I just found my b to be 3. And there is an equation of a line that is parallel to the first line using that point, or going through that point. This one says write an equation of a line that's perpendicular, so just slightly different. Go ahead and hit pause and try number 5 on your own, see what you come up with. Okay, on this one, it's in standard form, so the first thing we have to do is, if this is line number 1, I don't know what the slope is, so we got to figure out what the slope is first. Minus 3x over, divide by negative 2, so I get y equals 3 over 2x, because a negative divided by negative positive, minus 3. So that's line number 1. Okay. So now I'm going to go back and reread the directions. Now that I got it in y equals mx plus b, and kind of start from scratch. Perpendicular is what I want to do. So for line number 2, I need my slope to be what? Negative 2/3, right? If that's the slope right there of line 1, I know my second slope for the second line has to be the opposite reciprocal. I'm going to use this point. So I'm going to go y equals mx plus b. There's my x, there's my y. So 1 equals a slope of negative 2/3 times 3 plus b. And I get 1 equals, your 3's would cancel out, so you get negative 2 plus b. You get b equals 3 because you'd add the 2 over. And I'm going to get y equals negative 2/3 x plus 3. And that should be the equation of line number 2. That's perpendicular to line number 1 using the point 3, 1. We're cruising right along here. Look at that. Done. Finished. Parallel, perpendicular lines and their slopes. I know I went through that kind of quick peer review from Algebra 1 days and geometry. We do this in geometry as well. If you have questions in class over anything you saw on the PowerPoint slides today, please let me know. Be happy to help, show you in a different way, maybe give you another example. And we'll go from there, okay? Take care. Look forward to seeing you in class.